Is this Longines Hydroconquest the perfect everyday diver? Let's find out. Today we have a couple of different exciting announcements to make, one of which is I now have my own personal watch Instagram. It's called Chisholm Hunter Watches, and to be honest, we did try CH Watches, but someone took it. And of course, how could I forget that we have the Longines Hydroconquest, and today we're going to be discussing whether it's worth the money and whether it's the best diver at under £1,500. Let's begin with the basics then. Let's begin with the case diameter. It comes in at 43mm in diameter, but with that said, it wears a slight bit smaller. And I think it's partly due to the bezel and also the lugs and the kind of case size. When you compare it to my Omega, which is 42, my Omega actually wears slightly bigger, even though it's not. Now it gets to the point in the review where we get the toolkit out and we measure the lug width. So the lug width on this comes in at 21mm. This is quite interesting, and I'll tell you why. Other luxury divers in the industry have more of a short, kind of stubby appearance. They're a bit thicker, a bit more sturdy, whereas this kind of exudes a bit of elegance, and it stays true to Longines' roots and their sort of DNA and history. The thickness on this model comes in at 11.9mm. This is interesting because other luxury divers in the range have, well, a bigger thickness. They are a thicker thickness. They normally come in a bit more sturdy, but this adds to the versatility aspect of this Longines. It can fit nicely under a shirt cuff. It can be worn with different attires. It's not too much. Carrying on with that versatility theme, the case and the bracelet is made from stainless steel. I'm a huge fan of stainless steel, and I actually tend to go for stainless steel over gold or rose gold. It's a harder metal, so it doesn't wear as fast as the other two. On the case and the bracelet, you have a combination of polished and brushed steel. Adding to that versatility, this is the key word here, that means you can wear it in any scenario. You can wear this to the office, but you can also wear it outdoors when you're, well, going diving. It's just a great all-rounder. However, what you need to bear in mind, and this is why I tend to go for rubber straps, that polished steel, although it looks beautiful in the light, will scratch that little bit more. But that's why Longines gives you the option. I mean, I would go for the rubber strap, but you might choose the metal. And that's part of the fact that makes this watch the perfect everyday diver to me. I mean, it comes in at £1,300, and for the amount of watch you're getting, that's really, really good. Then you get to the dial and the bezel and all the design features that make this watch a Longines, and it's incredible. We'll move on to that in a second, but first, let's get this on the scale. So our personal scales here at Chisholm Hunter say this watch comes in at 185 grams. This watch has a water resistance of 300 meters. Will I ever go that deep? Probably not, but it can do it. And to support that, it has a screw down crown. I want to talk to you about the screw down crown. The screw down crown obviously has crown guards. Now this is a very logical thing to have because it protects the crown from getting knocked and dented. But the thing about this crown and the crown guards is they're slightly more elongated and slightly longer than what I'm used to. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. But then you need to remember that this is a fully functional dive watch. It's a tool watch. So when a diver comes in his wetsuit, he needs a big crown in order to change the time or wind the watch. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. The teeth on the bezel are a lot more prominent to, for example, my Omega, and the reason being is that when divers are in big wetsuits or dry suits, they need to be able to turn it easily. I actually quite like this feature. It makes it more of a tool watch. But my favorite bit by far, and you guys will know what this is. Moving on to the dial, it comes in a sunray blue finish. And what I love about the dial is that the blue on the bezel is a little bit darker than the blue on the dial. It gives it that extra bit of depth. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of blue, but remember that there's actually more color variations and metal variations in the Longines range. I mean, you've got the gray dial, you've got the black dial, you've got the rose golden black, all the rest of it. I'm gonna put some up here. I think an underdog, correct me if I'm wrong, in this range is the grey dial on the grey strap. The indices and numerals on the Longines dial are actually, I quite like them. Again, it comes back to that tool watch feel. They've got a large 12, 9 and 6 marker with the date window comfortably at 3 o'clock, I'll talk about the date window later. You guys know what I'm going to say. But the 12, 9 and 6 being so large, it adds to that functionality feel. When they're under the water, when they're deep in the blue ocean and it's dark, they need to be able to see the numerals, and that's why they're so oversized and big. So these oversized numerals have a lot of functionality behind them and a lot of thought put into them. I mean, they're needed when you are diving in the sea, so it remains a tool watch. Moving on to the date window, we mentioned it quickly, it's at 3 o'clock. Taking a closer look at the lume, it is really, really bright, and obviously it has a dot on the bezel as well, which makes it a fully functional dive watch. The hands on this model are actually silver polished, and when you shine them in the light, I'm reflecting it at the moment, they almost look white, and it really contrasts nicely with that dark blue bezel with the sun ray running through it. The dial just has a lot of depth. The date window is slightly lowered, which adds an extra level of depth, and then the hands are obviously raised one on top of the other. So I'm a really big fan of this dial, apart from the date window. Something that I forgot to mention on the bracelet, and again, I think that tool watch and versatility are the two key words in this review, is that it has a deployment clasp here, but it also has a diving extension buckle. So this basically means that when you're in a wetsuit or dry suit, you can extend it over the wetsuit or dry suit, making it more functional. Before we move on to the gorgeous movement, which by far has to be one of my favorite things about this model, it's important to say that without Chisholm Hunter, we would not have this channel. And Chisholm Hunter are actually authorized retailers for Longines watches. So if you want to pick up your very own Longines watch, then make sure you head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. That's chisholmhunter.co.uk. The movement in this model is the automatic caliber L888 movement. It is under the closed caseback on the back of this Longines watch, and it's beautiful. So let's talk about the specs. This movement beats at a frequency of 25,200 VPH and has a power reserve of 72 hours. Let's talk about the price then. It's the crux of most watch purchases, as I say in every single review, because it's true. This comes in at £1,300. Now obviously there's other variants, we list them all on the Chisholm Hunter website that come in at slightly different prices, but let's talk about this one. For this price, you get a ceramic bezel, you get a beautiful movement of 72 hours of power, you get a deployment clasp, you get a beautiful dial, you get a date window, you get 300 meters of water resistance, you get a fully functional bezel with teeth that you can actually move when under the water. You get a lot for your money. Some watch brands focus far too much on the aesthetics and they forget about the functionality. The diving DNA is embedded in this watch. I mean, you can see it in the bezel with the more prominent teeth, or the crown, which is that little bit more prominent than normal. All these features serve a purpose, and although some of them might not be for me, I maybe prefer that crown that little bit smaller, I understand it. It serves a purpose. Listen, you all know the incredible depth of Longines brand history, so I'm not gonna go over it, but Longines is a brand that I would be very, very proud to wear, especially at that price. Don't forget to subscribe to the Chisholm Hunter channel if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Time and the Wrist. Remember that we have our very own Instagram account now, Chisholm Hunter Watches. Drop us a follow, ask us a question, we'll get back to you.